The RTR lowering springs are going to be a good option for those of you out there that aren't looking for anything crazy from a lowering spring in terms of drop, and that want something for a daily driven car or a street car that's going to create both a good look with a good set of wheels and an improvement in performance. I'll talk more about the install later, but you're looking at a 2 out of 3 wrenches in the difficulty meter. These springs don't give the same drop all the way around the car, but instead they give a precise drop that RTR feels is better in both categories. These springs offer a drop of 1.1 inches in the front of the car and 0.8 inches in the rear. Now this is what I consider more on the standard side in the world of lowering springs for the S550, because currently you tend to see that the majority of springs offer a standard 1-inch drop. But I'll go back to what I said earlier about RTR thinking that this drop is going to give you the best of both worlds. The rear spring will drop the rear enough to make it look good, but not make it look too saggy and give the car a better stance. Of course, a lowering spring is going to lower the center of gravity to provide some handling improvements, like reducing squat and body roll in corners and eliminating nosedive under hard braking. And like I just said, this specific drop is enough of a drop to give the car a more aggressive stance, especially when you have good fitting wheels and tires. With that said, keep in mind that the drop and the overall appearance will look a little bit different depending on your wheel and tire setup. So these are going to be compatible with both the factory and aftermarket wheel and tire setups. And the plus side of the S550 is looking so good and responding so well to a little bit of lowering is that you can create a functional low. By that I mean it's low enough to look good, but not low enough to cause issues either on the tire or under the car. It's going to leave you with a very streetable car still. The other thing to consider when you're shopping for springs, besides the drop, is ride quality. These springs do have a progressive spring rate that RTR has tested on both the street and the track, so they give a nice street ride quality, but they're gonna firm up as you push the car during performance driving. As far as price, these springs are going to cost between $200 and $300, which is right where the majority of other springs are falling as well. Of course, there are some springs that are either less expensive or more expensive than that, and even springs that are all across that price range. So the install here is going to take about 4 hours. I'm going to call it a solid 2 out of 3 wrenches in the scale because you will need some knowledge to complete the install. So I'd recommend having a knowledgeable helping hand or taking this to a shop for the install if you haven't done this before, especially since it's always a good idea to get an alignment after the install anyways. The install can be done on jack stands if you don't have access to a lift, but as usual, a lift would be your best bet. You're going to need a few tools, including a spring compressor, so make sure you have that before you start the install. You're going to need to get down to the spring and strut assemblies, so everything like the wheels, brakes, and ABS lines will need to be moved out of the way so you can pull the assemblies out of the car. The spring compressor will help you remove the spring from the strut and install the new front springs, which are compressed and installed the same way. New bump stops are slid onto the shock, followed by new dust boots. The strut assemblies go back the same way they came out, and the install is the same for both sides. The rear is where things are a little bit different, but it's nothing crazy here. Essentially, the IRS subframe will be dropped, along with the rear shock mount, so you can slide the rear springs out. Just like the front, the rear springs installed the same way they were uninstalled, no surprises here. The new springs can be installed and the IRS subframe can be bolted back up, and that's about all it's going to take. Like I mentioned earlier, a fresh alignment after the install isn't a bad idea. Wrapping things up here, the RTR lowering spring kit offers a 1.1 and a 0.8 inch drop in the front and rear respectively. These springs are designed to give you the best of both worlds between performance and looks, and as always, I suggest you check these out more online for yourself. And for all things Mustang, keep it right here at AmericanMuscle.com.